What is going on, everybody, and welcome back to Shooting the Shit Uncensored. I'm your host, the dad bod god, the bald, the beard, and the fucking beautiful Piers Austin. And tonight, we got a special one for you guys tonight. We got the one and only Jasmin Brettle coming on the show. But before we get into my conversation with Jasmine, I need to take a quick second to tell you about healthvape.com. Healthvape.com is your healthy vaping alternative. All of their products are no nicotine, no addictive or harmful chemicals. They help restore your energy while giving you the vital boost you need to get through your day. So go and check out all of their vape and pod products. Use that promo code MWAPOD to get a 10% discount on your final purchase. Also, wherever you are tuning in, I appreciate it. If you're tuning in on YouTube, please make sure to like, share, subscribe, send a super sticker, all that good shit. Show your appreciation. I appreciate it. But if you're listening on a podcast platform, please give us a 5-star review. I appreciate it. It goes a long way. It helps with our analytics, helps bring more amazing conversations to more amazing people like yourselves. So you get to clicking. But without further ado, let's get into my conversation with the one and only Jasmin Brettle. Yeah! And we're live with Jasmin Brettle.
Hey.
How you doing? Welcome to Shooting the Shit.
Thanks for having me.
You know, it's actually interesting. I think we actually had this conversation at FWA that when I actually first started podcasting, two of the first people, not just in Australian wrestling, but wrestling in general that I reached out to was Keegan and you. Both very lovely
I feel honored.
But we couldn't get it done then. So it's been like 2.5 years. So I'm glad I could at least come with a bit of experience in this interview now.
It's all right. We've hyped it up for this long, so it's going to be worth the wait.
100%. Talk about worth the wait. I actually got to see you wrestle on the last 2 shows I was working on, which was FWA and All-Star Wrestling.
Yeah.
And you've actually just come back. I thought you did great. I thought, considering you've just come back after taking some time off, having a beautiful baby boy,
he's the best.
How did you feel like coming back after giving birth? Like, it was like, I'm married. Me and my wife have had 3 kids. I understand the things that change with women once you go through that process of giving birth. But how did you find going back and getting into the wrestling ring, getting back into training in the swing of things after becoming a mom?
Oh, honestly, like the whole time I was pregnant, the whole time that I was like, even just because obviously while I wasn't wrestling, I was just doing commentating at All Star, and I was just kind of trying to be a part of things because I loved it and I wanted to be there, but I missed it. Like I was craving being in the ring so bad. So when the moment came where my doctor was like, I think you'll be good to go back into wrestling and everything, because I kind of was like so nervous because I had a C-section. So it was like, it wasn't like a typical birth where I just had a bit of a quicker recovery. I had a big recovery, and and the thing is, as a woman, like you do not realize how much it takes a toll on your body until you actually give birth, and it's hard. So I was very, part of me was so over the moon, and I could not wait to get back in there. I was craving it, but then at the same time, I was very scared because I knew that I was nowhere near like I used to be before I was pregnant. But I was very lucky because I had, like I said, at All Star, Mitch has been nothing but so supportive of me, and he was like, whenever you're ready to come back, you just tell me. And so he kind of let me. It was nice knowing that, like, when I was ready to come back, it was there. But then to make it even better, I got to wrestle against someone who I started in beginners with Erica Reed. And so for me, it was like, okay, I'm in the ring now with at my favorite show. I'm also with someone who I trust with my whole heart. Like, but then once I was back in there, it was like, oh my God, like I missed it so much. But it also felt like I had never left either. It was weird. It was like I had a baby, but I never left. And it's been amazing. It's been so amazing. Like I have honestly, like I love it so freaking much. I love it so much. Like I know that I still have a lot to go to get back to how I was, but at the same time, like I know in my heart that I'm so passionate about everything that I'm doing. And I know that, every time I see myself, like I watch, whenever I watch back any matches that I have had, I have seen myself get better and better and better. And it's the best feeling. It's like the best feeling in the world. So I love it. It makes it like I want to have another baby eventually, but I'm like, oh, do I really want to just now? Like I want to stay in the ring more. Like I'm torn.
How old's your boy? He's like 6 months, right? 7 months?
No, he's actually like 14 months now. So he's
14
an
months.
angel. Yeah, he's 14 months. He just started walking actually. So he is awesome. Like he's such a good baby. And he even like, I think he's so used to being around wrestling shows that he even sleeps like in the crowd and everything now. Like it doesn't bother him. Like he loves it. So it's
He
pretty
was
good,
he was very chill because I remember seeing at the All-Star show, like I think he was a bit cranky because he wasn't feeling well. But after 5 minutes, he was shooting me smiles and everything. So
yeah, well, usually he's very like easy. Like we put him in the ring and he loves to like hold on to the ropes and usually he loves all that. But unfortunately, he was a bit sick. So the next couple of days he ended up with a fever and he was like fluish and everything as well. But apart from that, he's very easy to have at shows. Like, I mean, we try obviously not to bring him around too much, but it's also very good when you've got a group of people like, who you're constantly on shows with who also understand and they support you and they actually, try and help you. Like I know at All Star, for example, like I know no matter what, I've got, Hell Yeah or Aries or somebody who will always come and just like help out and, try and entertain him for me. Or you got, Jeff, who's the truck driver at All Star who like will go and carry him around and take him for a walk and stuff. And it makes it really great because, it's something that Keegan and I are so like, we love being around. So knowing that, we have a family that we can bring our son along with and they can, they support us. It really, really helps so much. But
and you get that you get that vibe at All Star, like you know what I mean, like seeing you guys with your little one running around. It was like that's cool, man. Like this is a and looking at the venue, looking at like the show as a whole, it's like okay, because I don't bring my wife and kids around to a lot of shows just because it's like my kids go to bed early as well. So like by the time the show starts, like when the kids go to bed. But like when I can bring them to shows, I try and do, but I try and pick the shows that I can take them to. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
like,
I've been the same with Jordan.
Kid-friendly shit.
Yeah, no, I totally get it because like even FWA when I had, I had just returned and I was like, I love, I'm really good with 5e and everything, but a part of me was also like, I shouldn't bring Jordan just yet because I don't really know how it's going to be. And I mean, everyone was awesome, but I mean, just because I'm familiar with All Star and I'm always around the same kind of guys, I know that they all try and help us and they all also understand that, we try our best to get someone to mind him a lot of the time and we don't get that lucky. So but we also, it's also hard because I'm not going to just pull out of a show or pull out of a match because of that either. Like I'm not going to pull out of anything. So it makes it so much easier when you've got an awesome team that will support and help you out and also a promoter who understands and wants to like, doesn't make you feel uncomfortable for bringing your kid to a show. And it really, really helps. It really means so much to me as well. So. But I can't wait till he's a bit older though.
Robbo saying, make sure the kids don't miss PWA at Liberty Hall, Piers. Yeah, I don't know if I'll be taking my kids to an over 18 show, Robbo.
No, bring them to All Star. They can play with Jordan.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, well, that's the thing. I'm a bit skeptical. My youngest, he's into smacking people now. So, but as far as yourself, like breaking in like to wrestling, like you started an Australian Pro Wrestling Gym, right?
Well, yes, technically. But before that, I had actually started technically with AWE and Vulcan. Because this is before I knew Keegan, before I knew like anyone else. I was going to a lot of their shows because it was in my area, and I actually had befriended a friend of yours, Vinny Vane, And he was actually like till this day, he's the one person, like he's my first friend in wrestling, and he has been nothing but awesome to me. And I'll always speak so highly of him. But I spoke to him one day at a show, and I was like, I want to wrestle because it's something I dreamt of doing. And he, put me in contact with Psychotic, and then from there I started training kind of at Vulcans. But the only problem is, it's just there was no girls, and I was like, I need to train with more girls because and there was also no girls in AWE at the time too. So I was like, what am I going to get? How am I going to get far when I don't have anyone to wrestle with or train with, or and then I started going to more shows. I met Keegan, and Keegan, was training at APWG. And then when I went there, that's when I was like, okay, this is the best. Like, J-Law is one of the best trainers in the whole wide world. And, it was just awesome. So yeah, APWG was just the best when it was still around. Like, it was honestly awesome.
Everyone speaks so highly of J-Law and APWG, and it's really, like, honestly, it's such a shame that he's not doing shows or even around anymore.
I know. Honestly, like, I can say confidently, after going and training over even in Canada with Lance, who is a great trainer, J-Law was just someone who cared so much that he would go above and beyond to kind of make you feel like, like for example, when Keegan and I were going to the States, he trained us for free. Like, he was so happy to just train us and help us out through the weeks because he wanted us to do well. And he was also the kind of person where he wouldn't be putting you, like, you wouldn't feel like he'd put you down because you weren't fit enough or you weren't good at something. If anything, he would try and see what your skills were and help you improve on those, and also kind of bring out your strengths. So, like, if there was someone, say, for example, who wasn't the most athletic, but they were great at strikes, for example, he would really try and help them, emphasize those and even give them moves to help them with that. So it was very special being there, because you could just tell how much he cared about every single person, but you could also go there in a non-judgmental environment as well. But it was also the hardest training. Like, it was tough training, but it was like a very different feeling where everyone kind of felt very safe. And I also, like, every person that he's trained, I mean, you cannot say anyone is not doing well. Like, you look at, you've got Keegan and I, you've got Kasai, you've got Caesar, you've got even a lot of the PWA guys like Paris and Sam Osborne, and a lot of those guys all were trained by Lee, so he really, really knows what he's doing, and he knows what he's talking about, but he also cares a lot and really wants to help you get better. And that's something that is so special to have in a trainer. So yeah, he was the best. If he's started to go to school tomorrow, I would tell everyone in the whole wide world, go there in a heartbeat.
Yeah, like, I think, like, because everyone has said the same thing about him to me. Like I have not heard a bad word about him, to be honest. And I feel like it's a difference between, because I feel like anyone could show someone or teach someone something, but it's different to actually train someone and really get someone to learn from you. And it's like to be able to understand different, like, individuals, like, personality traits on what motivates them to get the best result out of them, because, like, what works for you might not work for a Sam Osborne. What works for a Sam Osborne might not work for a Kasai. So you, as a coach, as a trainer, you need to be able to, like, switch that up a bit and get on the level of so many different people.
Oh, he was awesome at that. Like, and he was also the type where he was never all talk. Like, anytime we had, I remember, during the times where we'd have beginner classes and advanced classes, he would do everything that everyone was doing in the beginners and then do everything in advance. So he'd be running the cardio drills and doing every single thing that he's making everyone else doing. And he would be doing all the other kind of little drills with us as well. But then when it came to advanced class, the same thing. Like, he was just one of those, like, he always led by example with everything he did as well. Like, it wasn't just like, how, I mean, I couldn't talk because I don't really see too many other schools, but he's not the kind of trainer where he's just going to sit there and just be like, oh, no, go do this, and just sit there and watch you kind of thing. Like, he always did everything with you. And then if you didn't know how to do it, he would show you over and over himself doing it to show you kind of how to do it. So that also helps too. When you've got such a good leader who wants to, like, is leading by example, it really makes such a difference. Because I went from, coming to APWG with barely any wrestling experience to, honestly, within those 3 months of being in beginners, it was like I really learned so much more. Like, he really, really helped a lot.
Why do you think he got out of the business?
Well, I think he moved. He moved to Wollongong, and to be honest, I mean, everyone kind of just went everywhere. Like, I mean, everyone went everywhere. And then we also, you know, we had our regular place that we had our gym at, and then that had, you know, the person that actually owned it sold it because they were going to knock it down, and then trying to find a new gym. And then by then it was like people were kind of trying to go elsewhere just to sort of start training. And then by then it was like he wanted to move to Wollongong, and it just became like a whole, you know,
Yeah,
didn't
just
really
an
want to do it anymore, I
unfortunate chance of
guess.
circumstance. Yeah,
Yeah, I mean, I bring it up every time I can. Like, we went to his wedding last year, and I was like, oh, you know, hey, if you ever want to run training again, I will be there in a heartbeat. Like, he knows.
But-
He came to my return match even, and I was like, hey, you know, I would have been better if you were still running training. So I remind him. I think even Keegan always says to him, like, you know, we trained with Lance Storm, and you're a way better trainer.
Really?
So he always, yeah, always, yeah. Like,
So,
Lance, like I said, is awesome, but like J-Law is someone who just goes above and beyond and really, really cared so much about making you better. And like I said, if there was something you weren't good at, you never felt put down. It was more like, you know, how can I help you, you know, improve the things you're great at, and how can we make those stand out, and how can we help you with those? And it's very special to have. Like, I've never had that with anyone else I've trained with in my whole life. So
you mentioned, going over and training with Lance Storm. How did you find that?
I loved it. I actually got very lucky because we had a really, really great class as well. Like, we had, you know, obviously it was Keegan and I. You had Tony Toro from what's it called, Adelaide, who was there as well. We also had Dominic Mysterio in our class as well. And the thing is, everyone was awesome. Like, everyone was so cool. Even with me, like, I was the only girl at one point because there was another girl that was there as well, but she actually had to drop out, I think, the third week because she did something to her ankle. And so by the end, it was just me. But the perks of being the only girl is no one wanted to train with me. I think they were just very scared about hurting a girl. But it worked well in my favor because I had to pair with Lance for everything. So anytime we did drills, anytime we did matches, anytime, I think I was the one who got to do everything with Lance. And I swear it helps because, you know, when you first get in the ring with someone like him, it's nerve-wracking. Like, it was scary. Like, I was just like, oh my God, like, don't vomit, don't faint, don't, you know. But over time, it just kind of it doesn't make you feel like, you know, I'm Lance Storm, I know everything kind of thing. He makes you, you know, he makes it feel very normal. That doesn't feel like it's a thing. You know what I mean?
Doesn't try and big time you going, okay, look, it's
no, I mean, he does with some things, like, he does, but I also feel like he kind of has every right to do it because of all his experience. And considering, you know, he's been training, he'll get in there as well and do everything with us and show us how to do certain things. And he does everything flawlessly as well, like, which is very impressive for someone who is retired. Like, you could just tell he's taken a lot of, like, a good care of himself. And I reckon if he were to have a normal match now, he'd be totally fine. Like, he does not look like he's got bad knees, a bad back, you know, like some of the other older wrestlers that you see that have retired. Like, he does not look fragile even at all.
Because I think he took care of himself during his career. Like, he wasn't big on, like, booze and drugs, and, you know what I mean? I don't know if he was
so anti. He was telling us he has never even had a birthday cake. He is so, like, strict on what he eats and his diet. But he cares so much that he'll do that. You know what I mean?
That's insane.
Yeah. So, I mean, I remember when he said that to me, I was like, oh, I still want cake. Like, I can't do that.
but again, that's dedication to the craft, to where you want to get to. And if you look at it in his career, ECW, WCW probably had one of the greatest runs in WCW in the final year or two of that company's existence. Went to WWE, had a pretty decent run in WWE. Like, even then, like, he wasn't a world champion. Doesn't mean he's not knowledgeable. Doesn't mean he's not experienced in the business. Doesn't mean he's just as good as the guys who were in those spots. It was just the 100%. Way that the cards fall sometimes, you know what I mean? And like, I think that's where, like, I think a lot of wrestling fans, they look at certain things, like Stevie Richards, who's a friend of mine. It's like, I've done live streams with him on certain things, and someone commented going, what would you know? You were never world champion. It's like,
Stevie Richards, I don't think though.
But bro, like Stevie Richards is one of the most intelligent human beings in the world. The fact that you would judge him and not being a world champion in wrestling is just like the most ridiculous thing.
No, 100%. Like, you know, if you watch any of his matches back, like he was flawless. He was very good at everything he did. But the way you also know how good someone is look at all the people he's trained and look at how great, like majority of them got signed. Majority of the guys he's trained have gotten signed and have gone on. Like, you know, he trained Dom. So before Dom got signed, Dom, like, I mean, he had done some stuff from what I remember with his dad, but he was also learning from scratch as well. And, you know, like Lance knows his stuff and he really like, he's just got a lot of like, he's got a lot of knowledge. Like he just knows a lot, and because you can tell he cares a lot about the wrestling. Like hence, you know, the no cake thing. Like
but that's the thing when even when you said Dominic Mysterio, his dad is Rey Mysterio Jr.
Yeah. Oh my
who
god.
knows
Do you know what the most
what he you know what I mean? Who knows what good wrestling is? So he's not going to send his kid to a fucking carny.
100%, 100%, 100%. Like so Dom actually started a week after we had started, and then we kind of had found out. So, you know, Lance had kind of put everyone in a little huddle before we started training. It was like, oh, you know, just so you guys know, we've got Dominic Mysterio coming into training, starting with us soon, and his dad's actually going to be coming, and he wants to watch like some of the training for the first day. So, you know, blah blah blah. And I remember in my head thinking, oh my god, like Jesus Christ, like I was like, oh my god. Well, at first I was a bit like nervous just because I was like, oh my god, like his dad's Rey Mysterio. But then I'll be honest, by like the third day, it was like nothing. Like he is the best. Like he's the nicest guy in the world. Like he always checks up on Keegan and I as well. And you know, like if I were to message him tomorrow and just be like, oh my god, like you've been doing so great, I'm proud of you. Like he'll always reply back in a heartbeat. Like he is so genuine and such a great human being. Like never ever made you feel like who he was or anything. Yeah. Oh, he was great. He was awesome. But yeah, like he just with oh yeah, so as I was saying, sorry. So when Ray came in to do to watch us train, like it was just one day of training where he sat the whole time just watching all our stuff. And you know, obviously it's very nerve-wracking when you've got Lance Storm and Rey Mysterio watching you train. But you know, he had actually said that I think he actually said that Chris Jericho was the one who highly recommended Lance. And also Ray knew that Lance was the best trainer for him. So part of me also was like, I am so glad I'm here. And you know what, looking back, I mean, not that I've ever doubted it, but I'm glad that I did it all because, you know, 2 years later, he shut down his school completely. And I think to myself, like, I am so lucky that I can say that I was trained by him because, you know, not many people ever get to have that opportunity. I mean, there's a lot of great schools, but I think Lance's one is one of the most known ones out there and definitely an experience. It was just definitely the most best thing I ever did.
Where like you also trained over in like CZW, their academy as well, which they've produced a lot of international talent.
Yeah, well, when Keegan and I were there, I mean, DJ, as the owner, was like so welcoming. It was like, come train with us. And, you know, Keegan, I know, messaged him on social media and he was all for it. Like he didn't even expect us to pay because he appreciates anyone that like flies themselves out to get better and train and, you know, and it was honestly an experience. Like at the time you had people like Anthony Bennett, who was in the Cruiserweight Classic, he was training there, and Layla Hirsch as well, who's now at AEW. So she was, you know, there as well. And everyone was just so welcoming and so cool. But some of the drills they did there were wild. Like there was this one drill we did, and I remember it was like the first thing I ever did when we got there. And I remember thinking, oh my God, I'm going to die today. Like I'm going to break my neck or I'm going to break my back or something. But we all had to like, you had 4 people standing on each corner of the turnbuckles. And then you had people in the ring running ropes. And then the people that were on the turnbuckles had to squat. So you had someone running ropes both ways and you were squatting. And then once you got to 10 squats, you had to do a flip bump off the top rope. And I was shitting my pants. I was like, oh my God, like, I'm not a flippy person. Like, I like to do kind of stuff, but I don't really do it too often. So part of me was like, oh my God. But he was cool. Like, he was like, oh, I'll help you do it. And then part of me was like, no, I have to do this. Like, I have to prove to myself I can do it. So I just closed my eyes and I went for it. But I was like, thank God I landed. But that was like, I mean, I know that sounds like one thing, but it's like not the kind of training I've ever had in my life. So it was like, this is wild, but it was awesome training. It was very different to any kind of training that I've had. And everyone there is just so like, you know, because you're from Australia, you don't know what people are going to think. There's a lot of people that kind of you go on a lot of shows where a lot of people try and automatically kind of big league you because they just don't know where you're at. But over there, I never got that vibe. Like DJ also used to stay back with us till like midnight and just talk about wrestling and talk about anything. Like anything we asked him, he'd give us advice. And he also had a very different way of looking at things. And it was very, very like, it was different, but it made so much sense. Like the way he predicted a lot of things as well. Like he kind of predicted the whole AEW thing. And I remember when he mentioned it, we came like, what the hell does that mean? Like, but looking back, we were like, oh, you know what? He was so spot on. Like, he spoke about this other company forming about with this, bunch of indies, like, big indie league wrestlers, and it's going to be a big thing and blah, blah, blah. But this was like 2018, like 2018. So we
Wow,
didn't
so that was a
anything
while
of it.
back. Because it's interesting because like DJ Hyde like is a very interesting guy. Like he's a very, very interesting guy to talk to.
Oh yeah, he's so great to talk to. Like the stuff that like I said, the stuff that he like just says is it's very different to anything you'll ever hear. Like he's someone you should totally get on this podcast. Like he is just
I've had him on.
awesome. Oh, have you? Oh, okay, I haven't seen that. Sorry.
That's all right. No, I had him on.
But yeah, you know what I mean, though. He knows his stuff very well, and like he has a different way of how he looks at things, but like it makes sense. Like a lot of it makes so much sense.
Like, what was your initial thought like when you heard all of the accusations that came out about DJ and about CZW? Because I kind of feel like those accusations, plus put in like COVID as well, kind of like like in a way, I feel like kind of devalued the company CZW from what it was.
Look, I'm a very big believer in like honestly, I mean there are so many accusations that are thrown around about everyone in wrestling, like
100%.
But I'm a very, very big believer in and like I know there's gonna be a lot of people that'll be like, oh, how could you think like that? But I'm a very big believer in like okay, so look, in wrestling, I've had stuff said about me that's not true. I've had stuff said about me and Keegan that's not true. And it's hurtful. It's so mean. Yep. So I'm a very big believer in where if I know the person and I see the kind of person they are, I'm not just going to assume that accusation is true because someone has decided to post about it publicly, So when all that stuff came out, I felt very defensive because he was nothing but so good to Keegan and I. Like he really took care of us. Didn't make us pay a single thing for training because he knew we flew ourselves out, and he would purposely stay back and really want to help us and really want to get better. And so part of me, at the back of my mind, was very like, I don't want to think about all that this other stuff because I want to think about how he was to us as he was awesome to us, and he treated us like, he told us like the next time we come up, like we can stay at his house, like, anytime we want, and just he made us feel so welcome and so like out of everywhere that I trained in America, like I got so sad when we left Philly because I felt really a part of CZW. Like everyone there was just nothing but so awesome and so kind, and like even till now I speak to them here and there, some of the guys that were there, and it was the nicest feeling. So okay, fair enough, like when things are said about people, like I'll take it into consideration, of course, but I also don't want to judge just because of what someone else has said, only because I know what it's like to have false rumors against you, and it's not nice. It's horrible and it's hurtful. So
yeah, I mean, it is, and that's the one thing that I feel like was probably the biggest, like the worst thing that came out of like the whole speaking out movement was, and and I'm not saying that what was said about DJ was true or false or whatever, or whatever the case may be, but I feel like like there was a lot of accusations that came out. And the ones that I feel uncomfortable with were the ones that came out that were false, that were from people that had personal vendettas, that wanted to cause people harm and stuff like that, because I feel like those false accusations devalued every single, like for every one, false accusation, I think it devalued 10
100%,
real
100%.
accusations of real victims or people who went through and suffered, for people who saw an opportunity to jump on a bandwagon just to cut someone down a peg or two. You know what I mean?
100%. Like I said, I feel so sorry for anyone that has gone through any of that stuff, and like it's horrible. Like I would never wish that on anyone, but I also know what it's like to be on the other side where someone is spreading false rumors about you just because they're jealous and it's nasty. Like there was one point, honestly, where rumors went around that Keegan was beating me up. And to the point where I had like multiple people in Queensland, you know, saying stuff about it. And a part of me was kind of like, it was started by people who I actually had trained with as well. And they thought it was funny for some stupid, dumb reason. But one thing I felt was the most dumbest thing with that is people were talking about it, but not one person had actually messaged me saying, hey, are you okay? Like, this is what I heard. Instead, they kind of were spreading the gossip and not, because what if it was true and people are there laughing about it and talking about it? And, you know, you've got someone who, it's horrible. I've got, you know, Keegan is the most kindest, most loving partner I could have ever dreamt of in my whole life. Like, there's a reason we are married and we have a son together. You know, there's a reason we've been together nearly 8 years now. Like, he is nothing but so loving, supportive, and to watch how hurt and crushed he was because someone would decide to be jealous and laugh about it one day and talk in front of people and make jokes about it. Like there was one person that had actually said that I pulled out of a show because I was too badly beaten up the night before. And I had a veteran wrestler say that to me like a day later. And I was disgusted. Like it was disgusting because honestly, like that's why I have a very different mindset when it comes to all this speaking out, because I was so angry. Like I had actually like, you know, me and Keegan both put up a status about it because it was a dumb, like, you know, some of the people were involved, like one or two have actually said, I'm sorry, it was the dumbest thing. I don't know why I went along with it and blah, blah, blah. And for that, I don't hold a grudge at all. But a part of me still does get a little bit hurt that the whole thing happened because, like I said, I had people in Queensland saying, oh, I heard this. And, you know, I didn't think it was true. But in my head, I was like, you're here in Queensland. How did you hear about that? Like, that's stupid. Like, so, you know, you're right. There's a lot of people that jump on that bandwagon who feel like, oh, let me just speak out about something that, you know, so people can feel sorry for me. Like I said, I'm not judging anybody because I don't, especially if anyone has gone through that, like I don't want to judge that. But I feel like personally, I can feel like that because I've been like on the other side where I've had someone do that to me. And it was the worst feeling, like seeing, like I said, and the most heartbreaking part was just seeing, you know, Keegan, like I could tell it bothered him because, you know, he didn't say much about it. Like he tried to avoid it and tried to just brush it off. But when you've got a loving partner who's nothing but so supportive of you and dumb rumors are being spread around because, you know, people are jealous, it's horrible. So that's why I don't want to judge too much on what's said, but at the same time, I kind of want to like, you know, I always want people to know that if they've gone through something, like I support it and I want to be there for them always. So it's a bit tricky, you know what I mean? Like I want to try and always be as welcoming and everything, but at the same time, I've also got my guard up when I see that stuff because if it's something that is going to destroy someone just because they want a bit of attention or whatever, I'm totally against it and I'm not for it. So
what was the reason someone would even start that rumor? Like what was the reason?
Look, I think it started honestly because Keegan was like, so when I first started wrestling, Keegan was so tough on me, but like not in a horrible way. He was tough because he cared and he wanted me to do better. And looking back, I love it. Like I loved the fact that he cared so much. He just wanted me to be good. And honestly, like the thing is, it was just, you had people like, you know, I will never forget, was at training. I wrestled, I don't know if you've heard of Alina May. She doesn't wrestle much because she just, someone who just kind of came and went. And I remember I wrestled her the night before and I had a bruise on my chest and I was like, oh, look, you know, this is where you chopped me, whatever. And I made a joke about it. I walked away and then apparently she had said to like other people like Josh Gatt and some other people, oh, I bet Keegan did it, but she's just trying to blame me. And I had read multiple messages where, you know, she had actually said that, but it all started because she actually had come back from doing this big training in Canada with Lance.
Yeah.
And Keegan and I were actually we were doing well. Like we were starting to get booked in Melbourne. We were starting to get booked in Queensland. We were trying to get ourselves out there because we wanted to get better. We were, you know, and she wasn't getting that. And it all started, honestly, and I know for a fact that's the reason because like she had no reason to not like me. I opened my home to her. I gave her my first ever gi when she first debuted because I wanted to like, you know, I literally just wanted her to like feel like, hey, I've got your back. And, you know, it's unfortunate what's happened, but at the same time, I mean, where is she now? So
like what, like she just fell out of the business after that?
Well, to be honest, like I don't even know if she cared enough to try and get booked. Like she was just doing AWF, I think once or twice, but apart from
Mm,
that, she just was not. I don't think she tried to get herself out there. Like Keegan and
mm.
I know would like message promoters and like message, promotions, and we cared and we wanted to, we were keen to travel and keen to like put money into, wrestling at different promotions and stuff like that as well. So some people just they think it will come to them because you know what I mean. Like I think
Yeah.
she just thought that it was just going to come to her, and honestly, like she's the only person in wrestling that I could say that about. Like she just, I think now she just doesn't care enough to wrestle, or she doesn't try and get booked. I don't really know. I haven't spoken to her in years because of this
Yeah.
whole thing, and when when someone doesn't admit to me what they've done, and I've seen messages where I can see what they've said, and that I won't give them the time of the day. Like I won't even try to waste my time. So,
If she turned up
oh
at a
well.
show and a promoter said, "Right, change the plan, Jasmine. Tonight you're wrestling her," would you be able to do it?
I've told promoters I won't work her. I don't want to work with someone who can lie and just spread nasty rumors just, because it's funny or because they're jealous. So I've actually, back when this all had happened, I told multiple promoters I won't work with her. And I'm so glad the promoters that I did work with were on my side, because all of them straight away were like, yep, no worries, we won't book her. So no one even hesitated, because I think they knew Keegan and I well enough to know that they were just stupid lies, and they could understand how hurt we were about it. So it worked well in our favor. So,
Was there any
you know,
promoter that turned around and said, "Well, see you later"? Like, you know what I mean? I'll
Um,
book her over you. Or
no, well, I mean, let's be like Greg at AWF booked her once over me, and I ended up that night valeting Keegan. So, but I don't work. I mean, there's a reason I don't work his shows anyway. So, but look, I cannot complain at all, because right now being an All Star is like the best. Like I know for a fact that if I were to tell Mitch, or some of the other guys that work there, like Jace or Will or any of them, like they would all have my back. So yeah, yeah, it's just there was just like dumb thing that happened at the start of my, when I started wrestling, and you know
Mm.
after that I kind of thought, no, I'm not going to let any of that bother me anymore. So
I mean, I think
yeah,
at that stage, just like I mean, you can just like people just creating that level of drama just for the sake of it. And I've said this before, like it's fucking wrestling. Like it's supposed to be
yeah,
fun. Like no one's making six figures doing this shit. So why are you gonna
exactly
go out of
right,
your way to make like it's fucking wrestling. Like it's
exactly.
that's my response to every time I see like people arguing over like whether it's fans arguing online or just some dumb shit I see. I'm just like, it's fucking
Yeah.
wrestling. Come
No,
on.
exactly. Like, in all honesty, too, like you can't have a good match if you're not working well with the person you're wrestling.
Mm,
So it can be very competitive, but it's also why Keegan and I are very to ourselves a lot. Like we don't have as many friends as what we used to in wrestling. And I mean, we have, sorry, no, we have a lot of friends, but
mm.
we're also happy to just kind of keep to ourselves as well if we have to, because look what's happened. So at the end of the day, I know that like he always has my back anyway. I've always got his back, and to be honest, we don't really need much else.
I think that's the best way to do it. And the fact that both you, like you and he, are in the wrestling business as well and understand
Yeah,
how things work and how the politics and the drama and stuff of
yeah,
it works. Because I feel as well like a lot in the wrestling world is like sometimes like one of the things like that I found interesting was like when Tessa Blanchard got called out and it was like literally machine gunned by like all these other female wrestlers, and it was the
yeah.
day before she was going to go and win like the Impact or
But
TNA World Title
yeah,
or some shit like that. And I'm like, that's just some petty like I'm down with some petty shit. Trust me, like I'm cool with it, but that's some fucking low down, dirty, petty shit to take someone's
yeah.
moment like that. Like
No, I get. Look, what she did was totally wrong, and the stuff that they were saying
100%.
was totally justified. But yeah, I get what you're saying. It's like, come on, like, you know, why couldn't you speak out? I mean, like I said, I understand completely that sometimes in that moment, I might not feel comfortable enough to sort of say something then and there, and then later on, when you kind of see someone else saying it, you kind of feel more comfortable. But it
Mm.
also sucks when you also, you can't help but admit that you could see that she's a hard worker and she's awesome in the ring as well. So, but unfortunately, sometimes when that stuff just kind of overpowers the talent, it's like,
yeah,
it
I
puts them in
mean
a sucky position.
and it's unfortunate because she hasn't really been seen much for a couple of years. You know what I mean? Like, and that's and that who's losing out there? Like the companies, the fans, the the performers that want to have these amazing matches.
100%.
It's just
There's a lot of people that got cancelled, unfortunately. Like, you see, like, where's Joe Ryan, or where's like, there's a lot of people that I remember just suddenly just getting cancelled. Like, I found out, like, I didn't even realize that Austin Aries was cancelled, and I was like, until I looked it up, and I was like, oh, geez, okay, totally did not realize that it happened, but
you know what he got called? He one of the things he got called out for was an incident that happened in like 2009 that came out in a shoot interview in 2011.
yeah,
Like I won't go into details because it's pretty fucking like you know what I mean? Like
I've read a lot about it, and it's very unfortunate, but it's tricky, right? Because I mean, I don't know what he's thinking, but it could be like a few things where one, it could have happened and he could have realized, oh my God, I'm so dumb. Like, I need to better myself. And then it came out a couple years later, which again, if, whatever. Or two, it could be like, it's happened and he's like, oh my God, okay, if I just forget about it or go away or whatever it is. But it does suck. Like I said, it sucks when someone is so talented and then all this stuff kind of comes out and it's like, yep, see ya, they're cancelled now.
But I think in Joey Ryan's case, like I think like what didn't do him any favors was that he had 17 different women coming out and saying stuff about him, and then also the fact that like his whole gimmick is like this bringing sleazy into like bringing sleazy into like, wrestling and dick flips and shit like.
Oh, but you know what? Honestly, the fans were loving it. Like Keegan and I did a show with him in America, and we watched, it was the most disgusting thing I've ever seen in my whole life, where he came out with his lollipop and he was popping it in all these fans' mouths and they were all like waiting. And then during the match, he did the spot where I think he put it in his opponent's mouth and he hit them and it went flying. And one of the fans ran and grabbed it and put it in his mouth and was like over the moon. And I remember thinking, oh my God, like that wasn't his undies. That's just stupid. Like, it's yuck. Like, what?
That's
it was like so gross. We were just like, oh, what the hell?
But like I said, like a lot of that stuff where it's like he got accused of, which was like what made him guilty was the fact that when he came out and did like his justification 1 hour video of basically calling them all liars, and then he decides to go and start taking them to court for false accusation. I've lost this amount of followers on Instagram. And then to make like, to me, when I'm looking at it, to make matters worse is when he went to religion. And it's like, I'm fucking like, done. Like, I'm done.
Like, I understand if, like, no, I don't understand. Okay, I lied. Like, the thing is, if a woman has genuinely felt like she was, like, assaulted, like, it's very wrong to kind of publicly come out and say you're a liar. Like if she is genuinely feeling like that, like, it's not, but yeah, bringing religion into it, like, come on, like, I just, the whole thing is just honest. I'll be honest, like, I deleted Twitter because of all this stuff, because I hate it. I don't like any of it. Like, it's just, wrestling is like one of my most favorite things in the world, but it can also be the most toxic thing ever. And it's something that I just try, and as much as I try and avoid like the plague, I can't. It's just there. Like, it's just something that will always pop up, and someone will always speak out about someone. And it's good that people feel confident, like comfortable enough to sort of speak up and say that. But at the same time, it's like, I don't want that. Like, I want to think of the positive. Like, I want to think of how exciting it is going to a show or wrestling, or how awesome it is to get cool opportunities to wrestle cool people, or how cool it is to wrestle in this place and this place. And that's the kind of stuff that I kind of I'd rather see more of than the negative.
Yeah, I mean, like, to be honest, like, when I go do shows, and I always say this, is like, if it's not fun for me and I have to go and leave my family for like 8 hours on a Saturday or a Friday or a Sunday, you know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
And I'm not having fun doing it. Like, I'm not really doing it to get big money paydays, really. I'm doing it because I love to be around the people that, like, you know what I mean, the people on the shows. I love to be a part of the shows, but the fact is, like, it's fun. And if it's not fun and I'm
Yeah.
going there and it's feeling toxic, it's feeling like that, then I can have just as much fun staying at home and not
Yeah.
dealing with any toxic shit and,
Yeah.
you know, be with my wife and kids. So it's like, for me, I think a lot of the points where it's like, I'm like you, I steer clear a lot of the toxic shit where it's like, all right, cool. Like, I'm there for the, like, good, like, the people I'm cool with,
Yeah.
I usually stick to. And then meet new people obviously around. If you're cool, then I'll hang out with those people at shows
Yeah.
as well. You know what I mean? If you're not, all right, cool. You're not my kind of person,
Yeah.
but that's life. And you just go and hang out with other people. You know what I mean?
No, exactly. Well, that's kind of why as well that I'm very like I'm happy to be limited in the shows that I wrestle. Like I said, All Star is the most best environment that I've worked in. Like everyone treats me like I'm their sister. And for me, I like being in that positive environment where I can just feel like I don't have to, kind of hide away or hear negative stuff or anything. And even when I went to FWA, like it was awesome. I obviously hadn't been there in such a long time, but everyone was nice. Like 5E was awesome to me, and that's what I want. I just want to be at a show where everyone's awesome, everyone's positive. As soon as I have that moment where I feel like there's negative or something's making me not feel right, I probably would not take the booking again. And I feel like I'm at a point now where I've gone and I've wrestled as many places as I can, and I've done a lot of cool stuff. But I also feel like I rather just focus on me and wrestle the places that I'm comfortable to wrestle. And so far, honestly, I am like right now. I love like if I imagine being on a toxic show or like around toxic people when you're making a return match from having a baby like that. It would be. I don't think I'd be where I'm at right now, like mentally. I think I'd just be, I wouldn't go good because I know that my first match back wouldn't have been amazing, but because I had such a supportive group of people that I was around and people that no negative bullshit. It's like it makes all the difference in the world. Like it really, really helps, especially when you're already feeling nervous and you're already feeling, whatever it is. Like, why do you want to be around negative stuff or people
And
bad mouthing others or
the insecurities as well, because pro
yeah,
wrestling is such a cosmetic industry. Professional wrestling, it's like performers are going out there in a bathing suit essentially to perform like the same
100%.
coverage as a bathing suit. So you've got that of someone who's just had a baby coming back, knowing, okay, like I'm going to be on a backward step. I haven't been like regularly consistently training like I did post pregnancy. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
How is this going to go? The nerves are going to be through the roof. I would assume it would be almost like wrestling your first match all over again.
100%. That's how it felt. It felt like I was kind of starting from scratch again. And, I was so nervous because I cared so much. Like I was so, so excited. But at the same time, I was so, so nervous. Like I was scared. I was so scared because I knew what my body had gone through and I knew that it was nowhere near the way it was before I was pregnant. But again, working with people that are supportive and know, like, make you feel like you've got this. And then also having someone to wrestle who, like I said, Erica Reed is a superstar. Like I will constantly speak super highly of her no matter what, because she made me feel like when you work with people as well that believe in you and don't even feel worried about being against you or anything after coming back, you have no worries. But then, like I said, being in a different, being in the opposite position where you're coming back against someone who either you don't really know or someone who you might not get along with too well or whatever, it's very easy for someone to just turn around and just be like, no, I'm not wrestling anymore. Like I'm gonna take a break or, So
Easy to give it. It's easy to just walk away from it at that point, right?
yeah, especially when, like I said, after having a baby, like I was feeling very not vulnerable, but I was very my anxiety was a bit all over the place. Like, and that's a normal feeling to have. Whereas now I feel I feel good and I'm so happy to be back wrestling. And I just feel like, honestly, like I said, I never left and it was the best feeling in the world. But I knew that if I didn't have that amazing feeling back, I wouldn't be feeling the way I am now. And I wouldn't be feeling more confident in the ring and more feeling like my old self again.
Where you're at now, like wrestling wise, being a mom wise as well, like how have your goals changed, like in wrestling, since you become a parent?
To be honest, like I know beforehand it was like I want to wrestle as much as I can. I want to wrestle everywhere. I want to go places. I want to do this. I want to do that. Now it's more like, I mean, don't get me wrong. I want to keep wrestling and I want to keep doing things and I want to keep, getting better and better. But now it's more like, you know, how can I keep doing this while it's not affecting me as a mum either? Like, at the moment now, wrestling is, like I said, I bring my son sometimes to shows and it's awesome. Like you know, I'm always bringing around people like, well, not really sure. I just bring him to All Star to be honest, but I bring him around people who are, like support me and everything. And so I take all that into consideration now. Whereas before, obviously, I didn't have a baby to consider. So now I just have to work out what's best for me, for my son as well. Just what can work for us. So as long as it doesn't take me away from being a mum, like a good mum, I should say.
Yeah, I mean, I think especially at such a young age as well, like this is the sort of age where it's like mum has to be like somewhere around. Like she can be
Yeah.
gone
Oh
for
my
a night,
God.
but like, yeah, that's probably about as it, right?
What do you mean? My son can't even like watch me wrestle because he starts crying because he wants to come to me.
But you know
So every
what? It's
time I've
interesting.
got like my mom or someone looking after him, they know not to like let him see me.
But you know what? It's interesting because I did the last EWA show and Zuko was on that show. And Robbie Zuko was in a cage match with Kasai. He went through the steel cage. His
Yeah, I
daughter,
could
which I
see
think
that.
is like I don't want to overage or underage his daughter, but I think she's like 10 or maybe 8 or 10 or somewhere around that. And she was beside herself after the show.
Oh,
Like, I mean, like he was hugging her, going, "It's okay, it's okay." It's, you know what I mean?
oh,
Like, it was one of the cutest things I'd ever seen. And I was like, but like, yeah, even like as they get older, I think it's like no one wants to see their parent get their ass kicked.
yeah. Of
Like,
course, of course. It's like it's also. I mean, he's so little. For him, he's thinking, "Oh my God, Mum's there, and she's not here to pick me up. Why can't I just go to her?" That's like he's probably
mm,
thinking. But I also know later on it'll get to a point where he's more like, oh my God, mum's getting hurt, blah, blah, blah. Like, I don't, it's tricky because I want him to kind of, like, I mean, I used to watch wrestling since I was like 4. So I kind of knew, like, for me, it was like, I didn't care if I lost or win. I was like, oh, this is awesome. I mean, I want
yeah,
him to be like that, but I also don't want him to feel very scared if he sees me get hurt, or part of me wants to protect that from him, but I also feel like I love having him come to all the shows and everything. I love having him a part of everything, like because I want him to be around it and used to it as well. So, I mean, I guess it.
you want to protect him, but you want to
Yeah,
kayfabe it,
I
brother,
don't
brother.
know. I don't know. I don't know. I'm torn because I want him to not worry about mum. Like I want to show
Yeah.
him mum's tough. Like she's fine, but I also don't want to be like it's okay. Like or he goes to school and it's like, oh, my mum wasn't hurt, she's okay. Or you know what I mean? Like it's
Yeah, yeah,
I
yeah, yeah.
I wanna but I also don't want to scare him and think that mum's hurt like bad or something.
Mm.
So I totally understand like why his daughter was like, freaking out because it happened right in front of her and I couldn't imagine how he would have felt too because he obviously doesn't want that like his daughter to see that. So
Well, the thing as well, like
it's
there was a
tricky.
spot he went through the cage, which was unplanned. I'm sitting at
Yeah, I
commentary
saw
and
that
like,
happen actually.
yeah, well,
I
you know what
saw
I mean?
footage
Like
of it. It's horrible. It didn't look
me and
nice.
Robbie, me and Robbie are good friends. I was on commentary and I'd forgot what I was like, what the fuck? I was like, I had the headset off and I was like, oh,
I felt yeah, I felt horrible for both guys. I mean, I trained with Kasai and with Robbie Zuko. Like I've known him since I first started training because he would actually come a lot to APWG and help train us a little bit. And I just felt sad. I felt so sad because the guys were already having a really great match. And then sometimes I mean, as a worker as well, you just can tell when something doesn't seem right. And like, I think they tried their best to cover it, but you could also see that, like, you could just see that wasn't, but I felt bad as well because, like I said, it was already starting off as such a great match. But I was also really glad as well. It didn't put a damper on like the rest of the match. Like I'm glad that they
I think it made
still
the
continue to
it
kill
made the
it
match
and
better.
Well, I think they just still went into it like you could just tell they put their whole heart into what they were doing. Like they kind of brushed that off and they were like, let's continue kind of thing. So I mean,
But
that
it's
would have
also,
because
but
I
also
know
from a storytelling. But if you look from a storytelling point of view, a babyface going through something like that, right? Getting back up, going, fuck this, I'm going back, I'm getting back in there, I'm gonna fight. That underdog fight is still, you know what I mean? Like
yeah,
that's the shit that
yeah,
really
hundred
gets a
percent,
crowd
100%.
amped. So
That's what I'm saying. Like if I didn't know what I do know, like 100%, I would have thought, oh my god, I can't believe that happened. That's wild. What are they gonna do now? Like, so I think they, they covered it well, and I think that they still ended up having a great match. So it's good.
100%. But it is that time of the show. Everyone, it is time for 60 Seconds with Piers. How this is going to work if you're tuning in for the first time, I've got a bunch of questions I'm going to fire at Jasmin Brettle. She's got 60 seconds to answer as many as she can. Jasmine, are you ready to get going?
Yes, I'm ready.
Okay, starting the clock in 3, 2, 1.
Oh
What TV series could you watch over and over again?
Gossip Girl.
Okay. What is your go-to drink on a night out?
Apple martini.
Would you rather be 4'5" or 7'7"?
Oh my god, 4'5". I don't want to be
Which
tall.
song do you sing all the lyrics to when it comes on in the car or at karaoke?
Okay, Do the Propeller by the Wiggles.
Oh, that is awesome. Okay, roller coasters. Love them or hate them?
Love them. Love them.
What is your favorite meal to cook?
Chicken schnitzel.
Biggest pet peeve?
Dirty faith.
Shittest gift you have ever received?
I once received an Indian cookbook, but I hate spicy food.
There you go.
Felt
What
bad.
would your autobiography be called?
The Immaculate Life.
Okay, and last one. In 5 minutes' time, you are being shipped to outer space. What 2 personal belongings do you take with you, excluding human beings? Because I knew you were going to say your boy and and King, so I had to
Damn. My phone and my charger, so I can message Keegan and video call Jordan. Not that it's going to be Wi-Fi, but
that has been 60 Seconds with Piers. Jasmine, thank you so much for the time. The hour's just flown by. I feel like we only really just got started in the conversation. I think we definitely have to do a part 2 if you're up for that.
Definitely. Oh, yeah. I'll be totally down. Maybe next time Keegan can join us as well, though.
Absolutely. I'm always down for that. We'll have a good conversation. But where can everyone find you on social media, Jazz?
So all my Facebook and my Instagram is Immaculate Jazz, so JAZZ. Yeah, they're the only accounts that I have. So also, can I just do a quick shout out before we log off?
Absolutely, you can.
I just want to shout out to Keegan because I know he's watching this at the moment. I want to shout out to my best friend, Will from France. He's awesome, great guy. And the Big Four, they're awesome. They know who they are.
No worries. We'll shout out to the Big Four and guys, make sure to keep an eye out on our social medias. Because we'll definitely be making sure that we get Jasmine back on for a part 2. Also, make sure to go and check out our sponsor, healthvape.com. Use that promo code MWAPOD to get a 10% discount. Also, go and check out my wrestler merch store. Link is in the bio. Go get yourself some merch. Helps us out with the podcast. Helps us grow to bring more amazing content to more amazing human beings like yourselves. But until next time, we'll see you again very soon. Take care. All the best. Peace.